An Arab terrorist on the side of the road ambushed a school bus full of children and several Israeli cars in the Jordan Valley when he opened fire on them. 3 Israelis were injured before the terrorist fled the scene. 2 of the Israelis who were injured in this attack might just surprise you. And some good news, it looks like Israel is finally gearing up for a full-scale invasion of the last remaining terrorist Hamas stronghold in Gaza, the city of Rafah, despite the massive pressure that they are facing from the Biden administration and the United Nations. Stay tuned for this and a whole lot more here on today's show. I'm Justin, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Great to be back with you guys here on today's show. You guys know what to do. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube or wherever you're watching, whether it's Rumble or if you're just listening on podcast platforms. It would be amazing if you could give us a follow. Also, like this video and hit the notification bell so you never miss any of the content of the Israel Guys that we're putting out to you every single week. Also, go check out our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can go give us a follow there. We would very, very much appreciate that. Guys, do not forget to sign up for the Israel Summit. This is May 20th through 22nd at the Sonesta Hotel in Nashville. This is a big deal. The Israel Guys are hosting the first ever Israel Summit in support of the heartland of Israel. We have a massive list of incredible speakers who are coming to this conference. And it was just confirmed that Yair Levy, the amazing musician from Israel, will be joining us there with a full-on concert with his whole band there in Nashville. Guys, you do not want to miss out on this incredible opportunity. You can go to theisraelguys.com/summit or just click the link in the description below to sign up for the Israel Summit. The time has come to keep God's land for Christians all over the world to gather together to stand in support of the heartland of Israel. Guys, unfortunately, there was a terrorist attack this morning in the Jordan Valley. Thursday, March 28th, there was a terrorist attack this morning. In the attack, 3 Israelis were reported injured so far. Basically, a terrorist was on the side of the road waiting for, I guess, the easiest victim for him to fire on with his rifle. He saw a bus, several vehicles, and he opened fire on them. This was along Route 90, just north of Jericho. He opened fire on a school bus, which was full of children, and several cars who were, I guess, close to the school bus. Reportedly, the terrorist was masked and had clothes on that looked like an IDF uniform, as you can see in this photo right here on the screen. According to eyewitnesses, the terrorist fled the scene, and as we speak, the IDF and security forces are searching for him right now. I hope when you're watching this video that the terrorist will be caught, but if he's not, pray that he will be caught very soon and brought to justice. At least 3 people were injured, according to JNS. Quote, Magen David Adom emergency medics treated a 30-year-old man with moderate gunshot wounds and another man in his 20s who was lightly injured. A 13-year-old boy was also lightly injured by glass shards. The 2 adult victims were evacuated to Hadassah Ein Kerem Medical Center in Jerusalem, while the teen was being treated at Shaare Zedek Medical Center in the capital. Dan Iluz, a member of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, said something very important. I want to quote him. He said, quote, "We must defeat the enemy while deepening our roots in the land of our forefathers. Precisely now is the time to apply sovereignty to the Jordan Valley, an area whose importance is not disputed in Israeli society." Yes, absolutely. The security threats in the area would go down a lot if Israel would annex the Jordan Valley, maintain security control over the Jordan Valley. The terrorist attacks would definitely go down. There's something very ironic that happened in this terrorist attack that I want to talk about. And if it was under any other circumstances, it would be quite humorous. However, people were injured, so it's not humorous. But two left-wing activists from the organization called Looking at the Occupation in the Eyes. Two left-wing activists from this organization were injured in this terror attack by an Arab terrorist. And what were they doing in this area in the Jordan Valley? Well, they were returning from a night of guarding against settler violence in the Bedouin compound near the entrances of Jericho. Oh, whoops. Yeah, that kind of went wrong for their story. And you know who originally treated their wounds? Yes, local settlers. They had nothing to fear from settler violence. What about Palestinian Arab terrorist violence? People, wake up. Looking the Occupation in the Eyes, the organization, they said about the attack, quote, "These days, under the cover of the war, we are witness to the rise in intensity and the scope of the oppression of the Palestinians across the occupied territories. Human rights activists working in this violent reality are liable to be harmed as well, as we saw this morning. This incident will not prevent us from continuing to work to protect the Palestinians and demanding freedom and equality for all those who settle the land. Solving the conflict is the only way to bring peace and security to all who reside in this land." Yes, if we would just stop oppressing the poor Palestinians, then they would stop hating the Jews so much, and then they would stop killing Jews. No, absolutely not. These people are so brainwashed. Honestly, I do not get it. I do not understand at all. And honestly, these people probably know better. These left-wing activists, I think they know better. They cannot honestly think that all of this terrorism, even the horrible October 7th massacre, they cannot honestly and clearly think that this comes from Israeli oppression. They try to bring it back around to the Israeli oppression and say, oh, it's all because of the Israeli oppression. Also, if you would give the Palestinians their own state, if you would give them more land, then there would be peace. No, absolutely not. Look at what happened in Gaza. Guys, they tried that already. They gave the Palestinians their own state. It was taken over by Hamas. And since then, they fired thousands and thousands of rockets on Israel, and 1,200 Israelis were killed on October 7th. In a land for peace deal. The greatest way to achieve peace, in my opinion, is for all these activists and the Biden administration and the UN and the EU and everyone else to stop trying to tell Israel what to do and pressuring them not to go into Rafah. We're going to be talking about Rafah in just a second. But guys, Israel needs to be strong, and they need to be able to finish off Hamas once and for all. That is the only way to achieve peace. Guys, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but first, let me introduce you to the Israel Bible Book of Psalms, the Pray Like David edition. This Book of Psalms, it's in both Hebrew and English with a verse-by-verse English transliteration, which is more than 30,000 Hebrew words made accessible to you, allowing you to read, pronounce, and understand every single Hebrew word of Psalms. But there's even more. The English translation in the Pray Like David edition is a very accurate representation of the original Hebrew text of Psalms and one of the most authentic and readable English versions of King David's prayers that you'll find. Reading Psalms brings comfort and strength to the heart and soul, and now you can read them in King David's original words in Hebrew. Dive into the Psalms, walk in the footsteps of King David, and pray with renewed passion and understanding. With the Israel Bible Book of Psalms Pray Like David edition, you'll pray like you never have before. Click the link in the description below to purchase the Israel Bible Book of Psalms today. According to a Channel 12 report that came out on yesterday, as of recording time, the Israel Defense Forces has started to isolate Rafah in southern Gaza. Rafah is the city in southern Gaza, and they started taking steps to evacuate the city's civilian population, hopefully preparing for a full-scale invasion and capture of Rafah, which honestly should have happened a long time ago. The only reason it did not happen is because of mostly pressure from the Biden administration. Biden has repeatedly made himself clear, or as clear as Biden can be, that America will not in any way support a full-on invasion of Rafah. The U.S. even abstained from, this past week, they abstained from a United Nations vote on a resolution calling for a ceasefire and the return of the hostages. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the only reason that the U.S. didn't fully support the resolution was because it didn't outright condemn Hamas. All of the previous ceasefire resolutions before this one, the U.S. had vetoed. However, they just abstained from this vote. Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, also National Security Advisor Saki Hanegbi, and an Israeli Defense Forces official, they were supposed to arrive in Washington on Tuesday for meetings with U.S. counterparts, but when Netanyahu heard about the ceasefire vote, he canceled these diplomatic meetings. Netanyahu said that Biden's move, quote, hurts the war effort in the effort to release the hostages by giving Hamas the hope that international pressure will bring about a ceasefire without freeing the 134 remaining hostages. Netanyahu told Senator Rick Scott on Wednesday that his decision to cancel Dermer and Hanegbi's visits to Washington, quote, was a message to Hamas. Don't bet on this pressure. It's not going to work. So thankfully, it looks like Israel is finally moving forward with the capture of Rafah, with the full-on invasion of Rafah, despite all of the intense, crazy international pressure that they are facing right now. The thing is, Rafah has to be captured. There's no other option. Rafah has to be captured. This is the last major terrorist stronghold of Hamas, containing about 4 battalions of around 3,000 terrorists who are currently holed up in the city. However, a ceasefire would allow time for these 3,000 terrorists to perhaps escape out of the city of Rafah, regroup, rearm, maybe join their brothers in arms, and again prepare to face the IDF, and more IDF soldiers would be killed, and in the process, more Gazan civilians. So really the only option is for the city of Rafah to be captured. I guess the concern from the Biden administration is about the approximately 1 million civilians who are in Rafah. And I say civilians because sadly, there are not many innocent civilians in Gaza. Just look at the videos of these civilians, innocent civilians, cheering when Hamas members dragged Israeli bodies or Israeli hostages into Gaza. Or how about these civilians actually holding Israeli hostages inside of their homes? There are honestly, very sadly, not many Gazan civilians who are actually innocent. However, Israel does actually care about these civilians, probably more than the U.S. does, and they are making sure that they are safe before going in to take out the terrorists, like they do every single time. Israel always makes a corridor for safety to get the civilians out before they actually go in and take out the terrorists. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just ordered the purchase from China of 40,000 tents for Rafah evacuees, which will be moved to the Gaza Strip from Israel. They're going way over and beyond to do what they can to protect the civilians of Gaza. And Israel's rate of civilians killed per terrorist in Gaza is way better than any other country in the world. So no one has the right to be telling Israel what to do, including our administration, the Biden administration. I think former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo summed it up perfectly. He tweeted out the other day. He said, quote, allowing Hamas to remain in Rafah would be like firefighters only putting out 80% of a fire. We should support Israel's mission to completely defeat Hamas. Absolutely, the world needs to stand behind Israel. They need to get Israel's back. They need to say, yes, you go for it. You do whatever you need to do to eradicate this evil from the earth. Guys, pray that Israel has the strength to do what they need to do in their fight against Hamas, despite the international pressure. Honestly, Israel is doing the rest of the world a favor, so the world should be thanking Israel instead of doing everything they can to save Hamas, which is absolute nuts and makes no sense at all. Guys, we need to pray for total victory, for wisdom for Israel's leaders, for strength for the IDF to go in and 100% eradicate Hamas from the earth. Make sure and check out Israel 365's The Israel Bible Book of Psalms. You can click the link in the description below if you want to purchase that today. Don't forget to subscribe, get that conversation going down below. Let us know if you are a strong supporter of Israel, or write your prayers down in the comments below. And as always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.